Hello again, I'm Sophia Aragon. I'm a registered nurse and executive director of the Washington Center for Nursing. And I'm here with our public health figure and leading nurse advocate, Nurse Stephan Torres. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I'd like to talk with you about nutrition and exercise because that's something that people tend to put on the back burner and not put any priority on.
Sure, right now there's no room for me to talk about the food pyramid, carbs, good fats, bad fats, scrap all that. Nurses know how to eat. And if they don't, they know how to figure it out, okay? And you got a lot of them that are doing meal preps. They're on some sort of, VB6, 112, 98 degrees, B2K diet, whatever it is. We've been at this for a long time.
So say more about healthy eating.
I can't tell you what to eat. I can't tell you when to eat. I can't tell you where to eat. But I can tell you that you need to eat. And I'm not a nutritionist, but I can tell you what I see happen with nurses, particularly the ones that are closest to me. For whatever reason, they confide in me. I don't know. They either overeat or they undereat. And when I ask them why, it's usually because they overeat because they're depressed, bored. It's just how they eat in their home, or culturally, whatever it is. But if you do think you're overeating, you can get help, but don't feel bad. This is America. We're a fluffy bunch, right? Even in Seattle, where we're pretty health conscious, still a little fluffy, right?
And so what do you tell your friends?
Well, what I ask them usually is, are you happy with what you're eating? If they say yes, that's fine. If they say no, I tell them to look into that, explore new foods. But again, if they say yes, then I say, okay, well, you're happy with what you eat. Are you eating healthy? And if they say no, well, look into that. It's worth going online, doing some research, scheduling a telehealth appointment with a nutritionist. This is something that could, in the long run, save your life.
So what if you already eat healthy?
So if you ask yourself, am I eating healthy? And you say yes, ask someone else, someone you know that eats healthy. And if they say yes, you might be sitting pretty. But something that really bothers me with my friends is that they don't eat. And oftentimes it's because they're working these 16-hour shifts, they don't get breaks, and they're exhausted after work. And that really bothers me because it's just really annoying. It's moody, snappy, irritable, just like anyone else would be when they're too hungry, not enough food. And I don't want them to be that way, right? A lot of times they don't even realize it and they start blaming it on other things. And that's where the acronym HALT comes in.
What is that? What is HALT?
So HALT is an acronym, stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. You consider it if your mood's off before you react to any sort of situation. One of those four things could be the culprit. So we already addressed T, tired, in the first session we did, advocate for yourself to get sleep for the safety of yourself and for others. The angry part, if you can't fix it yourself, therapy will help with that. Loneliness, we'll get to later, but right now, hungry is the one that we're focused on. And it's a little bit of a misnomer because hunger is a feeling. And half the time, my friends don't feel hungry. But when they eat, they feel better.
Now, how do you know when you're eating enough?
That's a good question. We all know you have to eat to survive, right? You also need to eat enough to not get the mood and behavior issues that come with not eating enough. Especially when we're expending as much energy as we are as nurses and healthcare professionals that are being taxed more than they have been, ever before. So this comes back to the whole advocating for yourself and saying, I need my break. End of story. And they may laugh and tell you to go back to your pod, but you got to have something somewhere, right? Some sort of sustenance, okay? You got to eat something whether you're hungry or not.
Talk about exercise.
Yeah, for exercise, let's assume that we're not isolated, okay? That's easy. Just get moving in any way you know how to, okay? For some people, that's a couple steps. For some people, that's a couple stairs. Some people, that's 20 flights of stairs.
Now, what if someone wanted to take the plunge and do more intensive exercise like weightlifting?
Yeah.
And they haven't done it before.
Definitely, it's an excellent thing to get into, but I'd caution not to get into anything that you're not comfortable with. So don't try lifting free weights if you don't understand your body mechanics. Ask a friend, get a personal trainer, but don't do something that's out of your comfort zone that you don't feel safe doing. You got to get into the habit of asking people for help in all aspects of your life, including this. If this is unexplored territory, uncharted land, and you don't know the lay of it, you're not expected to, and we were all there once.
Now, what if you're isolated and alone, and that's a huge barrier to exercise for you.
Yeah, so assuming you're isolated, right now while we still have the internet, YouTube is your friend. Okay, not only can you subscribe to my channel, you can check out all sorts, thousands of videos online that have step-by-step instructions for every single person's level of competency. But the bottom line is nutrition and exercise are not sacrifices that need to be made during a time of crisis. They're directly correlated with how you show up in life. You want to be alert, you want to have energy, you want to be strong both mentally and physically, especially in a time of crisis.
Thank you, Stefan, for your thoughts on nutrition and exercise. So I hope all of you join us next time for the next self-care tip.